Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Rick Plaskett, a certified business coach and leadership coach here in Columbus, Ohio. And today, my guest is Lisa Goldsand. She is the owner of Circular Thrift. It's a very unique company, and I think I'm going to let her describe to you what makes it unique because I wouldn't do it justice. Trust me, it's going to be interesting. Today, we're going to talk about her business challenges, some of the best practices that she's done, and share a little peek behind the curtain into what it's really like to build and operate a business. If this is the first time that you have joined us on this channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. You know, it helps us, and it also helps you get notifications in the future. Lisa, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Oh my goodness, Rick, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Super. Now, listen, when you and I talked before getting ready for this interview, you gave me some wonderful background and gave me a good understanding of what Circular Thrift was all about. If you would please briefly share with our audience a little bit about your background, what brought you here today and being the owner of Circular Thrift, and then tell us a little bit about what Circular Thrift is.
Sure. So I had lived in Columbus for 23 years, and I moved here to work for Abercrombie and Fitch. So I have been in the global retail environment for just about 30 years, so pretty much my whole adult career. And I'm really interested in all of the processes that go into how something is made. I really love the idea of being able to go from a macro to a micro level to understand supply chain and to understand the process of developing a product. Having said that, though, my couple of decades in a large for-profit retail environment is exactly what has led me to start Circular Thrift, which is a very hyper local, sustainable fashion startup, which aims to build community around sustainable fashion at a super, super local level with the goal of shifting consumer behavior around consumption and around, consumers' relationship with their stuff, hopefully in a repeatable way, right? So that all of us can begin to maybe consume less, be more deliberate about what we buy, and to have a different relationship with our things, which ultimately has a positive impact on the environment. So I guess, Rick, maybe I'm doing a little bit of penance because I'm aware and I'm sort of sobered by the impact that global fashion production has at scale on the environment, and I'm interested in having a somewhat more purpose-driven next phase of my career and driving some positive social and environmental change.
Fabulous, fabulous. So to set the stage for the viewers, what is your current ownership structure? Are you the person, or do you have outside investors? Are you working with a team? Tell us where you are today.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you that certainly, and then maybe I should also take a minute and share what exactly is Circular Thrift, because I think I kind of glossed over that answer. So I am a multi-member LLC. I have a business partner who is a chief operating officer.
Mhm.
We are unapologetically for profit, and I'll come back to that in a moment. We are an aspiring B Corp, so we're only at the start of year 3, but we are a for-profit company that really is focused on having some benefit in society overall. What Circular Thrift is it started as kind of a test. So I have a really, strong understanding at a macro level about how, things get made and where they get shipped from, and the whole, localized store or digital channel distribution process, et cetera. But I've been really focused on kind of what happens then. And, I've done a lot of research in how many times we wear our clothing, what percent of it ends up in a landfill. It's 73%. By the way, we wear our clothing 7 times before we're done using it. And, also some statistics about how consumer behavior has changed in the past couple of decades. So we consume on average 65% more clothing than we did even 15 years ago. And so as I was starting to think about how I could have an impact in the kind of what the white space is in this sustainability ecosystem, I think that there's a real opportunity at a local level to make people feel more comfortable with and bought in to the idea of reuse. And so it's affluent communities where most of the new consumption happens, right? So I used my town of Bexley, which has a average household income well above the national average, which I think is about 67 or 69,000. Bexley's average household income is around 170, 180. And so I really started as a study to see, well, what could I do to build a circular economy right where I live at a hyperlocal level? So I started putting, with the permission of my town, I have a very supportive Chamber of Commerce, mayor, city council, etc. I got permission to put some bins in publicly accessible places around Bexley, and people were just welcome to put what they were no longer interested in using in these bins. And so, long story short, part of this model that's received a lot of academic interest is I kicked my family out of my garage, and I sort all of the things that I collect from these bins in my garage. So twice a month, some volunteers come over. It's a lovely group of people. Mostly it's retired educators. And we sort all of the things that have been collected. And some of these things are set aside for resale. So part of my business model is resale. And then the majority of the things that we collect, we organize by product category, and we donate them to an organization serving the local community. And so the reason this is important too is my goal is to have an environmental impact first. I care about all of the things, but this business is how can I have a for-profit business that has an environmental impact? So all the stuff that people don't want, I valorize it through the value pyramid, right? So I resell what I can. I include certain items at swap events, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Very, very focused on circulating things where they have the most value. So I also am very interested in reselling or somehow circulating spiritware from my town. Rick, I don't know the name of the mascot of your local elementary school, but guess what? I don't care what it is because it's not mine, right? And so your kids or grandkids or whatever, fleece hoodie has no value in my neighborhood, and it has less value as it leaves your neighborhood, right? So all of my activities are focused on keeping things in circulation at their highest value and for as long as possible. So that's one aspect of this business model, is to really, through resale, swaps, etc., keep things in circulation for as long as possible at a hyperlocal level. Then additionally, I host quarterly swap events, so a very organized social clothing exchange. And my first year, I did way too many. My first year, I think I had like 16 events, and that was just, I was too tired. It was too many. So every quarter, I host one event that the community knows about. So pretty much every 6 months, we host a kids' clothing swap, and the other 2 times a year, we host a women's clothing swap. All are welcome. There's just tends to be much more women's clothing out there and in circulation, and going through the clothing ecosystem than men's clothing. And so these events are really, really focused on building community. So of course I charge for them. People have clear rules. They bring a certain number of items. They need to be good quality. They need to be clean. I basically say, if you give it to your sister-in-law or your best friend, then you can bring it to my swap, right? And so people find these events valuable because it is a really great way for them to size up their kids' clothing, or maybe to get rid of something that they bought that just wasn't for them. It may still have tags on it. Rick, a lot of the things that people bring to these events are, just new, but just somebody bought them for whatever, in error. Let's just say that. And so with those events, at the end of each event, I track the environmental impact of the activity. So if there's a kids' clothing swap and 1,000 units are brought and collected and placed on tables in a nice organized way, and 400 units go home with new owners, then I will do a calculation by product category of what the offset in carbon emissions, water, and energy was of this activity. And especially if it's happening in an environment where, generally speaking, people can afford to go and buy something new if they feel that they need it, getting people by hosting a fun community event and putting quality clothing, out there into the exchange environment, getting them to take home something that's pre-owned probably is, we hope, replacing the purchase of something new, and thus replacing the consumption of natural resources associated with consuming something new. So, I know I've said a lot about all the sort of the technicalities of this concept, but what's important is people are coming to like a festive social event, but they're also learning about maybe a tweak in their shopping behavior, or maybe they'll be more open to the idea of, shopping secondhand next time they find that they need something. So I'm hoping that I am, to the degree that I'm able, shifting consumer behavior at the same time that I'm offering a service that people seem to value. And so there's two other things that happen every quarter with Circular Thrift. One is I host some kind of a mending workshop, and it really can be anything. So I've had people come and sit together and darn socks. It's actually very easy to darn a sock. Repair holes in sweaters. Learn how to make the waistband in their jeans a little bit more snug by putting elastic in the back. A lot of younger kids are buying jeans that are really big at a thrift store, and they want to know how to make them, fit them. I did a really fun event last summer. It was very fun, extremely loud. It was flower pounding. And so people came with something that had a stain on it, or that maybe was like just a little boring and plain. And we literally took flowers and plants from my garden, and we had all these hammers, right? And so people hammered, they banged the pigment from the leaf or the flower petal, whatever, into the thing that they, wanted to enjoy in a different way, right? So people just love the idea of these like hands-on, kind of low pressure, informal activities, because they build community and they make people feel like they have a little bit of agency in not only how they spend their time, but also like, how they handle their stuff. And so then the last thing that happens every quarter is I organize some kind of a community educational event. And these events are usually hybrid, because I'm really looking to get subject matter experts in some aspect of sustainable fashion to share about, what they see and learn with regular people, just regular people in the community. And so over the last couple of years, I had a fashion advocate who lives in Uganda who's addressing textile waste dumping there. I had a really great person who heads up sustainability efforts for Goodwill International talk about all the great things that Goodwill is doing. So I really try to bring in somebody who just has just a great story to tell. And, hopefully then the people who attend, walk away with, again, just a little more information than they started their day with.
Fabulous. What I'm hearing, Lisa, is not only retail and changing the concept of retail, but then infusing it with an event and experience, so that it's not just the product, but it's the experience around the product. It's clear, as you shared that story with us, that you've put in a lot of strategic thinking, strategic planning on the concept. Now, if we were to come just today in your role as the owner, what percentage, how would you break that down of, actually in the business, setting up for your next event or sorting, versus planning for where and what do you want to be in your profitability journey towards the end of this year? How would you break that down? Strategic
Yeah,
versus
that's a
day
really
to
great
day.
question. Yeah, it's a great question. So, as I mentioned, we haven't taken any money, so we're self-funded. So we've been pretty creative, and I think pretty smart about how we think about our time, and how we also think about, bringing in people who want to be involved with this organization in a way that is, profitable for them and makes sense for them. So
Mhm.
I mentioned that I have a resale business, right? So unlike a lot of resellers, I'm doing an experiment that's hyper local. So, I have these bins that I mentioned, and honestly, Rick, people drive up to my house now with carloads of stuff, and they're like, Lisa, just don't tell anybody it was me that brought you all this stuff, but would you take it? And so, one example is I no longer run the eBay store that is focused on Bexley. I have a friend who's taken that over, and I take a small percent of what the sales are. I do sometimes list some things myself, but because I'm really interested in spending as much time as I can thinking about how to repeat this model in other parts of Ohio and eventually the country and maybe even the world. Um, I'm okay to forego that bit of profit for now, but I know what it is. Like, so I know what the potential profitability of somebody doing that work as like a kind of a fun side hustle would be without having to focus all of the time that I would allocate to the business on that. So that's one example. I would say the things that I do pay for are the things where I am terrible, right? I love to speak publicly. I love to be in the community. In the warm weather, I sell offline as well as online, and I have this really amazing, like it's a convertible, it's a bike that basically converts into a store. It's amazing.
Hmm.
I love to do that myself. What I'm terrible at is creating social media content. So I pay a terrific college kid to create the social media kits for me, and it takes her a tenth of the time that it would take me. So I would say, as far as what someone, let's say a potential, let's call it a franchisee, somebody who did this work in another town, I think that it would take them, in total, maybe 15 hours a month,
Hmm.
to host these events and do all of the things to prepare and show up for these quarterly activities. And how I'm spending most of my time is I've created basically a digital roadmap that somebody could purchase and guide themselves through how to do this really efficiently in their town if they, couldn't come over and sit at my table and have me just like tell them live how to do it. So I would say I'm spending probably 75% of my time on future thinking. Where do we want to be in, 3 to 4 to 5 years activities?
Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. Every single business, whether it's your business that is changing and growing, or it's an established business, Starbucks or Apple Computers, success comes down to marketing. And you've shared a little bit in the way of social media, but in the area of marketing, I'm just curious, what's been successful for you, and what hasn't?
Yeah, no, I will share. Um, First of all, I don't know if I should be proud to admit this or if I'm just being transparent by admitting this, but to date, I have not paid for any advertising, and so I'll be testing and learning like what type of paid advertising is going to make sense for this business. So all of the growth that we've had so far has been absolutely organic, which I think is just an interesting thing to share. As far as what works in terms of engagement, which is a form of marketing, let's say, right? I am I When I plan an event, I think about who in my community either is a great person who could bring people to that event and who would enjoy it and who would help to explain it on their social media leading up to and then following the event. And I might offer those, that group of people complimentary tickets, and either they're going to come and bring
Mhm.
friends, or they're going to come and they're going to talk about it. And so that's one strategy that's worked really well for me. I will say I try to pay attention to the blend at different events. And these events have, 20 some people. They're not a full stadium. I think the largest event I had so far was an educational event with a really great speaker about designing for circularity that was at CCAD. And that event was 50 some people, right? So we're talking about
Okay.
pretty small groups of people still, but the idea is that this is happening in, potentially in neighborhoods all over the country, and that people are able to do a lot of these same things with a little bit of guidance, right? But what I was trying to say is I pay attention to is I like to observe the blend between the people who've shown up to every single one of my events. There's a couple of those people who literally not missed one since I started, just over 2 years
Mhm.
ago, and the balance of brand new people. And of course, I'm always interested in how do they learn about this event, et cetera. So on a virtual event, we had someone from South Africa just show up because they found something through a search on Eventbrite. That was pretty cool a couple months ago. And we had an event here in Bexley. It was an embroidery workshop. It was actually really fun. So people again just brought things that they wanted to embellish in some way, either because it was stained or ripped or just they wanted to. And it was very self-guided. And so everybody was very social. Everybody was talking and really kind of connecting with each other, both with the person that they might have brought with them and with the stranger sitting at the table next to them.
Mhm.
And I looked around and I realized that event was mostly people I had never met before. And in fact, a number of those people, I think more than half of those people were not even from Bexley. And so I counted that as a success because I didn't have to work that hard as I define work in terms of like calling people or saying, will you please come, etc. So I think there's a strong appetite right now for community, period. I think people want to be in real life with each other doing something. I think there's a strong appetite that people have for agency. Like, what can I do? What can I do that's like, good in some way?
Mhm.
And, I think people also are intrigued by missions by businesses that have some kind of purpose. So I don't know if I've answered your marketing question. Complementary engagement
I
to the
think
right
you have.
people. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good.
Mhm. Lisa, I think you have. What you've the secret sauce behind what you're sharing with us is the clothing is simply the vehicle. It is the community, it is the experience, it is the event, it's the relationships that are grown from that. And
Right.
if I were to coach in the area of marketing, your target audience, your offer, and what it looks like, the copy. Okay. And out
Yeah.
of those, your target audience reaching the right people, you want the Pied Pipers. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
interested in guys like me that have four pairs of shoes, one running, one dress,
Not really.
etc. That we're
Right. You're very
we're not your
self-aware, Rick.
custom
You really
audience,
are.
okay? I am, it is a major accomplishment at my age to still make sure that my buttons are in the right buttonholes, you know. But when I'm wearing a good shirt, okay. But no, the target audience, if you were to go 1 out of 10, that's a 10 out of 10. If you could get four Pied Pipers, success. Okay. The
Yeah.
offer, I think you've already shared, and I would invite you to dig into that a little deeper because yes, it's the vehicle is the close, but the experience and what I as a participant value would be that community, the relationships and the communication. It's
Right.
that's the hidden value that people get, and that's your offer. And then the copy is simply, what does it look like, where are you going? I would invite you, if your target audience is boomers or Gen Z, then Facebook is great. Do you
Right.
need billboards, radio, TV? No, most people don't. Most people don't. And
Yeah.
particularly if your
I do put up
focus
a
is in
flyer in the
the
library.
community, which may be, as long as that library is within your 4 block radius and not 5 block radius,
Yeah.
success, success. Absolutely. Well, listen,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
very much.
No,
That
totally.
that I think that gives a great idea of how you're getting the word out there and how you're moving forward with that. So, we have spent a lot of time digging into those two pieces. If we could just
Mhm.
kind of go fast forward now, you've shared with us what's gotten us here, what's going to get you there. Where do you see
Mm.
your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So I I'm an introvert and an extrovert, like kind of split down the middle. And I'm starting with that in answering your question by saying that I want to be known for having shifted consumer behavior in a positive way, right? I want to be known for having created more awareness around just deliberate consumption, not no consumption, just, you know. And so what I spend a lot of time thinking about is, to a degree, I'm the brand right now. You know,
Mhm.
I love to, you know, I'm invited to speak at schools and universities, and I love that. I love it. I love it. But really, where I see this in 3 to 5 years is that I have successfully created a roadmap or some, you know, some kind of self-guiding digital content where people who may not have 30 years of, you know, retail and supply chain experience are confident and engaged and you know, empowered to do exactly what I'm doing in Bexley, Ohio, in their communities. And so, you
Mhm.
know, in 5 years, I would like there to be 4,000 circular thrift ambassadors all over the country who are learning from each other about, you know, how efficiently to do a swap event, how efficiently to find organizations in their community that can use what's left over after a swap event, figuring out, you know, what the right partnership with Goodwill. I strongly believe in the benefit of Goodwill, and I think that
Mhm.
national charities have a very important part in this ecosystem. I think things need to stay local a few times first, but, you know, so figuring out,
Mhm.
as I scale, what do partnerships with national organizations look like? What type of involvement do brands want to have with the idea that I am helping to keep great product that they've put out into the world in circulation for as long as possible, right? And so really what I'm thinking about is, how do I, you know, remain the brand to the degree that it's helpful, but really make the brand be, you, Rick, you can go and do this great thing in your community. And I want to show you how. I want to empower you. I want you to
Mhm.
feel like you know, I've given you the tools to build your own community around, well, we already said you maybe aren't a sustainable fashion guy, but maybe you are, because you have such a great relationship with your stuff. You have 4 pairs of shoes. You deeply love each of those pairs of shoes. So I think we should walk that back, whatever we said earlier about how
I'm
you aren't the
I'm one
guy.
of the I'm one of the few guys. Well, maybe I am a key customer for you because I bemoan the loss of a good cobbler. You know, I love my shoes. When I wear
There
them
you
out,
go.
I want a new sole on them, and I can't find it anymore. I don't like going and getting a new pair of shoes and having to relate to that. You know, it's when I have worn out the bottoms of my trousers because they've worn out on the shoes over the years. Great. I'm going back and getting the exact same trouser because I like it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
maybe my thought process is reusable just like you are, you know?
I
You've
think you
opened my
probably
eyes to
do have
that.
a very, yeah, I think you have a very healthy and humble and deep relationship with your belongings, which I think is great.
Now, the challenge to that is to ensure that I can still wear the stuff from 10 years ago. And that is paying attention to what goes in here. You know, there was,
Well,
I've been coaching for, I've been coaching for 17 years. And second year in, every single year, or twice a year, we have a formal dinner get together requiring a tuxedo. Well, I decided at the beginning, you know, no, I'm not going to rent a tuxedo twice a year, every single year. So I bought one. And so, you know, I realize when the next event is, which happens to be in August, and I take a look at what the
mhm.
scale says and does that pants still fit? And, you know, I'm a little motivated to change me so I can still get into those clothes.
Yeah,
And there's been a
yeah.
couple of times where the cummerbund does its jobs and hides what's not supposed to be going on. And other times I'm really proud of being able to zip up the pants. Um,
It's good to be
let,
healthy, though. I mean, I think however we set our goals for being healthy and maintaining health, it's good. I like it.
well, I say
I like
that
it.
because that does allow me to have my 4 pairs of shoes and my 5 pairs
Yeah.
of pants because I haven't changed and flexed to the point where I have to have 3 different sizes, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
If we were to get back to your goals, you've given us your vision of
Hmm.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
What's your approach to the milestone setting or the goal setting of getting there? How many goals
Yeah.
do you set at any one time? What type of time frame do you look
Yeah.
at? I'm wanting to get into your brain, your way
Yeah.
of thinking as the owner.
So I have to tell you, I am one of those people who believes in getting up at 5 o'clock or earlier because no, it's my time in the house. I may have a dog or two supervising me, but it's when I do a lot of great thinking. And Rick, that is when I spend a lot of time thinking about. I'm actually pretty disciplined in thinking about what is my desire 5 years from now? What is my desire a year from now? And then how do I break that down into quarters and then into months? And so I have a set of very specific goals for 2028, 29. And those include hopefully having funding to be a part of maybe a docu-series about the impact of fashion on the environment, which of course would, further support the demand for my product, right? I do have a number of neighborhoods that I would like to be in by that time. It actually is 4,000. Having done a lot of
Mhm.
some research on um, communities in the U.S. that are a certain population density, that are a certain size, that are a certain within a certain average household income band, and then figuring out what part of that market I can most likely address. I have a number in mind of how many business partnerships I'd like to have formalized by 2029, and then
Mhm.
I've sort of broken that back out into what that number should be for the next year or so. And so I also know how many ebooks I would like to sell and how many subscriptions I'd like to have by year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you know how many what is appropriate as far as the segmentation of my business that should be in an academic setting. Should I
Mhm.
be really focusing on university engagement? I think universities are amazing because they are a closed ecosystem to a much greater degree than a community is, right? Or a neighborhood is. And so I think a lot about how to segment my marketing and engagement efforts among for profit businesses that might want to partner with me in doing supporting me and doing something good from which they benefit too, if they're especially if
Mhm.
they're retailers. um, the academic side where I could be really helpful in students who want to do self-guided learning and also experiential learning. So a high schooler or a middle schooler could take my course and say, oh, okay, I really know why it's important to schedule this kind of event, and now I know how to do it because they're templates and things that save you time, etc. So thinking about what portion of the business growth should be in schools, and is it university, is it high school, is it middle school, right? And then also just to think about how many people like me, maybe a 20 years younger version of me, but people like me who just want to do something in their community and feel committed and invested in being where they are and driving change where they are, but they just may need a little bit of I don't want to say direction, but actual, they may need a roadmap. If they're into fashion and fashion is how they think they might want to make a difference, well, the content I've created may help them do that with a little more confidence and ease.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I have
Okay.
numbers in how I'd like that portfolio to grow, and I think about it a lot. But I really back it up from 5 year to this year to I think about per quarter what milestones do I need to have in mind to meet that goal at the end of the year. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. Now, in answering that question, Lisa, I've heard you use the word think a lot. And
Yeah,
as a coach,
yeah,
I coach my clients so that the universe can help you. I can't read your mind. Your business partner can't read your mind. Your entire family cannot read your mind. So if you're thinking about it, I can't help you because I'm not aware of it.
yeah, yeah.
So just a
When I say thinking, I
curiosity
really
there.
mean
Have you written
writing
those
things down.
down?
Yeah, always, always, always. Yeah.
Okay.
When I say
Now,
thinking, it's with a pen and a piece of paper.
fabulous. Now, if you really
Yeah.
want that goal to be a hit, this is when you start to put it on the refrigerator door. You make
Mhm.
sure that all of your business partners and your community leaders, ambassadors, if you will, know exactly where and what you want to do, because that's the only way that you can invite the community, the
Yeah.
universe in to help you achieve those goals. If we don't know, we can't help. But fabulous. I'm
Yep.
glad that you've clarified that your thesaurus is thinking means writing.
Yeah.
Great
Well,
job.
really, you're talking about manifesting. I don't know if that's the word you use with the people that you coach, but really,
I'm
we're
sorry, I'm a
manifesting our
boomer.
success.
I'm a
Yeah.
boomer. Manifesting is just not something that it sounds like I'm going to pull a muscle if I'm manifesting something.
Yeah. Well, to your listeners and your viewers, I would say, yeah, in addition to defining my goals, I do think about how I can manifest them because I do believe in that very, very strongly. I think your point is really good. You can't quietly sit and think about what you hope maybe will happen. You have to kind of, you know, manifest it into existence. And I will say one thing along those lines, one thing that I found effective is sometimes as a gift at the end of an event, I will send people a phone wallpaper that says something like, I'm proud to be part of a sustainable fashion movement, or something that gets people kind of engaged around the idea, and it's
Mhm,
free,
mhm.
right? And it's it doesn't use there's nothing you're throwing away, there's no packaging. And my own screensaver on my phone, my wallpaper, actually is all of my goals. So I think it's really important to be thinking
Fabulous.
about them all the time.
Wonderful. Super, super. Yeah, you're spot on there.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Lisa. Well, listen, we've certainly covered an awful lot of ground in our conversation today. And for those of you that are watching, I highly encourage you to save this and come back. Lisa has shared a whole lot of really great gold nuggets of, how her journey transitioned into where she is today and where she wants to go into the future. And as we wrap up, I'd like to hit a section that I like to call the rapid fire questions. It's just what's top of your mind, 3 or 4 questions. Again, what's top of your mind, 1 or 2 word answers. You ready for these?
Ready. Brene
Super.
Brown does this. I'm very excited about this. Go ahead.
All right. So, Lisa, what is your key to success?
Confidence and commitment. You can't give up. You have to keep going.
Fabulous. Lisa, what's a book that you've read recently that you'd like to share with the audience?
Ah, well, the book, because I like to just dig into my content. So the book is called Fashion Victims, and it's all about crazy and actually terribly, terribly damaging fashion trends that have happened over the past, hundreds of years. It's really interesting. It's a little grim. It's a little gruesome, but that's what I've been reading when I take a brain break from running my business.
Yeah, okay. So page 24 in there probably has the sky blue tuxedo with the fuzzy bow tie that I wore in high school with the long hair. Because if that was the fashion faux pas of the moment, and my mother still to this day loves to torture me with those pictures every time I go to visit.
It might have been. This is about ways that humans were harmed. So maybe if you wore platform shoes and you tripped in them, the idea of those shoes having been a consistent, hazard, that would have been in this book.
Yeah, I have witnessed a few friends way back when earth shoes were the thing
Right.
that did not walk too well. So, hey, Lisa, last question here before we get into the thing is, if there was one area of your business that you could immediately improve upon, and tomorrow morning it would be exactly where you want it to be, what would that area be?
Uh, Successful, efficient engagement in social media. I feel like I'm a
Fabulous.
little
So
blind
speak
sometimes. Yeah.
Great. So speaking of social media, before I get to the last question, if the audience wants to get in touch with you and host your next event, or they want to get in touch with you about something that you've said today, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, they can find me at Lisa Goldsand at circularthrift.org. And they can also visit my website, which is circularthrift.org. I do a lot of blogging, so you can learn my opinion on many aspects about the space. And my Instagram is Circular Thrift LLC.
Super. Thank you so much. So here's the last question. What is most inspiring to you, Lisa?
Oh, the most inspiring thing to me um, is the ability that I think I have and that people have to form a connection with each other, no matter where they come from and no matter, what the details are. I'm very inspired by the idea that humans have an ability to connect with each other in some way all over.
That's fabulous. Yeah. And if you don't believe that people have the ability to connect, you should have joined the military back when I did, because it doesn't take anything more than a 40-man barracks room with no walls in it and a drill sergeant that's trying to tell you how to work together as a team, where it doesn't matter your background, your color, your religious beliefs. We all get together because it was one common enemy, and he was the one that was going to make our life miserable. And to this day, I still have
Yeah,
those best relationships, just over something as stupid as scrubbing the floor. But
I can
yes,
believe it. No, I can believe it.
building those
Yeah.
relationships, I agree. Great. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. And for you, the audience, hey, thank you for watching. This has been really inspiring to me yet again, and I hope it was inspiring to you. So folks, make it a great day, and bye for now.